Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. In today's video I want to tell you the curious and fascinating story of Mr. Friedrich Merz from the CDU party. He recently stated that within Angela Merkel's CDU party there is a conspiracy at work that is working against him, that wants to prevent him taking over the power or the leadership position in the CDU party. He called this conspiracy Aktion Merz verhindern, and he also said that this conspiracy has the full support of the establishment. So he tries to paint himself as the outlaw, as the fringe figure, as the non-politician maybe a little bit like Donald Trump was seen in the Republican Party or is still seen in the Republican Party now. Mr. Politically Incorrect that is shaking the party establishment to the core. So today I want to explain to you what really happened, what is behind all that, and how plausible his claims are and how fitting this self-image is that he is trying to project to the people. Alright, so let's start from the beginning. Because of our little health situation now, the CDU decided to postpone their party convention. And on this convention, they should have elected the new leader. I think they postponed it until next year. And Mr. Merz said that from January 1st, the party does not have a legitimate leadership anymore. The question was whether or not to do some kind of an online party convention where the vote would have had to be done via mail, because an online vote is not really legally tight, if I understood that correctly, and that would have taken something like 70 days or something. So the party said that there are technical reasons for that. You cannot easily or conveniently organize this election process in an online or mail voting format. But Mr. Merz does not accept this explanation. He says that in all the polls and in all the metrics, it looked like he is very, very popular with the party delegates. So at the current time, he would have won that election easily. And that is why Mr. Laschet, one of his rivals, that he needed more time in order to improve his popularity values with respect to Mr. Merz. And that the party then complied with that. So in a way, he tries to make himself look like a mixture of Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. He wants to be the non-PC, non-establishment candidate that is the real conservative and that is loved by the bases but despised by the party elites. And at the same time, there is a conspiracy, like the DNC had it against Bernie Sanders, in order to steal the election or the nomination, let's say, from him. The question is that really plausible? Is that believable? I would say yes and no. Let's look at the Donald Trump thing first. Is his self-image correct? Is he really such a type of candidate loved by the bases, loved by the voters, but despised by the party elites and not a real politician, but more of a business guy? Well, yes and no. So let's look at the first part. He doesn't have the entertainment value that Donald Trump has. He is this typical kind of conservative that is not actually a conservative, but just a person who adopts the new speech codes and the newspeak a little slowly, and that is why he is causing these micro scandals with the woke establishment. Recently, he angered the alphabet people, for example, when he made some comments about the health minister, Mr. Spahn. But other than these really tame incidents, there is nothing really as shocking as what Donald Trump used to say in 2016, for example. There is a kernel of truth to the fact, however, that he is indeed loved by the basis of the party, that is, lower level delegates or people in the federal states, on the regional, local level more. For all of these people who suffer from nostalgia and who want to go back to the good old days before Angela Merkel, as if that was the actual problem of the CDU party. No, but with these people, he is actually very popular. That is a fact. And it is also a fact that the inner party elite, the people that Angela Merkel put into these positions, yes, they really do not like him, because remember, he is an old rival of Angela Merkel. And that already lets me segue into the second point. Is he really an outsider in the world of politics? Well, once again, yes and no. Before his rivalry with Angela Merkel, he was part of the CDU establishment. He just lost against her, and the difference between him and many other career politicians, such as Paul Ziemiak, for example, is that he has an actual job. He doesn't need the income from politics. He can make a lot of money in the private sector. I think he's a corporate lawyer. So he worked for big holding companies and also for BlackRock, for example. So on the one hand side, that is also big business and global corporatism. But on the other hand, one has to admit that, yeah, he can make money in the private sector, and that is generally something good. I don't really like all these career politicians who don't have anything to fall back on and who desperately need that gig in politics. And after 2009, yes, he actually left the scene, and from that moment on, he was not part of the establishment anymore, so to speak, and he hasn't reached that position yet at all. But I have to say, of course, and I covered that in previous videos, he is part of the Atlantikbrücke e.V. That is a club, or should I say a lobby organization, a pro-American lobby organization in Germany that was founded by Warburg after World War II. Yes, the same Warburg from that notorious bank that is at the moment under investigation in Germany for criminal activity against the German state and the German taxpayers. So he is part of that globalist lobby organization, and he might not be really popular with the inner circle of the CDU and the current establishment, but he is definitely a player, or he is definitely part of the globalist establishment. At least he is a useful agent of theirs, which once again makes him a little more like Donald Trump actually. Alright, so in summary, my verdict on his self-image or his self-proclaimed outsider status, yes and no. So he's not a complete outsider, but he left the scene after he lost against Angela Merkel in that power struggle, and now he tries to claw his way back in somehow. He also can make a lot of money in the private sector, and he did that in fact, which makes him not dependent on income as a public servant or a party soldier. Alright, but how plausible is it actually that there is such a conspiracy undergoing against him and his candidacy? Well, let's just say the motivation for that is there. There is a motive. That is very clear, because Merz should not be underestimated in as far as his popularity with the party base goes. That is very clear. I said that before. So the motivation of Laschet and Merkel and that elite circle is definitely there. And yes, I have to agree that these excuses with the health situation and with this mail-in voting or online voting thing, that this wasn't feasible, that is a little bit of a weak excuse. I think if they wanted to, they could have organized some form of a party assembly and some form of a vote. And also the party is shooting itself in their own foot in a little bit, because it is really time that they are building up a post-Merkel party leadership, and they need a strong candidate for the chancellor position, and they need that now, or at least very soon. They cannot wait until next spring or next summer. The party, as well as the electorate, we have no idea where the CDU will go. I mean, it's very probable that it stays pretty much on the Angela Merkel course, but we don't know who will be the leader, who will be the next candidate. Mr. Merz spun this conspiracy theory of his even a little bit further. He said that maybe this is not in order to benefit Mr. Laschet at all. Maybe some elites in the background are trying to play on time, to prolong this process so that the candidates are getting tired and that they make mistakes in order to burn all the candidates that are currently on the list. And then they could use this momentum, swoop in and present a brand new candidate that is not yet known to the public at all and get that guy elected, using that momentum then. So that could be true. It could also be true that this is all just theater and Mr. Merz is also just playing his part as he was told to do. And in the end, all the parties, SPD, Green Party, CDU, Die Linke, FDP, maybe even parts of the AfD, they are all just having regular meetings where they write the script for the next 6 weeks or 6 months. And we are all just guests in a big theater performance. Who knows? But yes, so here on the second point of the plausibility, or how believable is it that there is such a conspiracy actually, well, I would say, I don't know. It could be. There is definitely a motive. The inner circle of the CDU does not want Merz. That is very clear. But of course, there is no real evidence for the existence of such a conspiracy against him. But this whole incident and this story of his is very amusing, I think. So if he wants to improve his entertainment value, yeah, he should work on that. He should continue on that trajectory and let us know a little bit more about conspiracies and dark elites and shadowy figures in the higher circles of the CDU party. We're all looking forward to that. But before we do all that, I want to thank all my great subscribers and supporters. If you like these presentations, like, share and subscribe, and activate the bell icon down below for notifications. If you want to support the channel in other ways, you can do so directly via PayPal or via Patreon or Subscribestar. Links down in the description below. Take care. Servus, Kameraden.